Hello and welcome back to OmniFit TV. This is Joe Sommer speaking. Today's video is about the return of the Premier League, among other ramblings. Now, I'm going to talk about my first impressions so far. It looks good. It's been entertaining. It's been interesting. It's been eyebrow-raising, jaw-dropping to certain extents. And I'm extremely happy about Newcastle in particular today. And I'll tell you why. I have covered a good amount of news concerning Newcastle throughout this past summer so far. Be that as it may, that I have returned to making content on the channel. Now, here's the thing about Newcastle. I've always felt that they are this organically charged club with obviously one of England's biggest fan bases, a rich history in regards to their presence in English football overall. They're not necessarily one of the biggest clubs in the countries, but they gravitate towards that area in a sense. They roam around it, and there's something extremely authentic about the fans now in comparison to how it used to be under Mike Ashley. And I can't tell you how different St. James Park looks. I was watching the players walk onto the pitch as the game started, and I get that this is late, but I couldn't believe the energy that was overflowing from the stands onto the pitch. The people in the stadium were buzzing. They were happy. The banners were everywhere. The flags were everywhere. Everything seemed optimistic. The joy that permeated throughout the entire city seemed to just centralize itself, or I can't even find the word. Its core was St. James's Park. And you could tell today from everything that happened in that game. I don't think anyone saw a 5-1 win on the cards. And if you made that bet, then fair play to you, my friend. But I just watched the first half, and I thought to myself, Villa may get back into this game, or Newcastle could possibly win 3 or 4-1, because they were bossing the entire game. Physically, they were on top of the opponent. They were able to utilize the spaces that were presented to themselves much better. Their decision-making was top tier. Tonali had a brilliant first game. He facilitated 2 goals and scored the very first of the game. And I believe, as far as I've read, that he is now the first Italian to have scored the fastest Premier League goal in history. And that's in regards to being an Italian scoring in the league. I could be wrong, but I did read that stat during the game, and I was pretty happy for him. Because all the talk about him possibly being unhappy versus arriving at the club, all the chatter that's been going around social media, the banter that was present and ongoing throughout the game, claiming that he wasn't adapting well to the physicality that the game started, despite the fact that he scored. I think people were being sarcastic, but even if they weren't, he proved a very, very big point today. And so did every other Newcastle player. The mentality seems like it's there. The compromises that the players are willing to make for each other, the trust that you can see building, or that has already been built between these players. There's a maturity to them. And there seems to be a sense of elevation. They're preparing themselves for a big season, and you can tell. I could tell from every interception that was made, from every pass that was made, especially in midfield. In the beginning of that game, they won every single proper battle in that midfield. Everything just looked immaculate. I'm running out of words here, but it was efficient. That's the best word I can give you. It was efficient. It was extremely efficient. It was tight, focused, efficient, and it yielded the results that Eddie Howe expected to have. Now, I didn't watch the other games, per se, but I wanted to more so focus on this because I'm extremely excited about where they're going to go. Right? Newcastle present themselves as potential title contenders throughout the next couple of years, and I think for that reason alone, it's worth covering them. It's worth paying attention to what they're doing. And in regards to that, at the very least, I can say that they'll probably finish in the top 4 again. Granted that the commentators themselves, who were running the game, claimed, or one of them at least, claimed that they could either finish in the top 6 in the Europa League spots or in the Champions League spots. He doesn't see them finishing consistently or finishing in the Champions League spots consistently for a second straight season. I'm not necessarily sure who that commentator was, but I disagree with him. It's going to be very difficult to usurp them. And that is my humble opinion in that regard. I think that to touch base in particular for this issue, I believe that they're going to go far. Not just domestically, maybe they'll go much further domestically this season by winning the FA Cup, the EFL Cup. Lord knows, I don't think they're going to win the league. I genuinely doubt it. You never know. Honestly, Leicester winning the league taught me that you can't really discount anyone or anything, as long as they're showing up, right? And in the Champions League, they could leave a mark. They could genuinely send shockwaves across the competition if they maintain balance across the already heavily congested football schedule that we have to see or oversee as fans. Because we may nag about it or express disapproval over it, but the players have to deal with it. So let's see how the manager manages to rotate and keep everything balanced across. And there's no argument to this. Newcastle's most challenging season to date, and Eddie Howe's biggest as well. Now, I wanted to talk about other things throughout this video, but I just latched on to Newcastle because I couldn't help but express how happy I was to see them do this well. I was surprised that Unai Emery's side actually managed to concede 5 goals because Emery is very defensive. He's focused on maintaining his shape, controlling the spaces in between the defenders, making sure that these kinds of things don't leak into the back of the net. But that happened often, and I don't necessarily attribute it to his incompetence. I attribute it to the strength that Newcastle presented themselves in. And the overall atmosphere at St. James's Park didn't give the villains much breathing room. Now tomorrow, Chelsea face Liverpool, which is arguably the most important match of the opening week, considering the Caicedo saga that has been ongoing throughout the entire summer. Chelsea were chasing this player from the beginning of the summer up until the end. Liverpool made a bid. It was accepted. The player obviously said that, and according to Fabrizio Romano, I think everyone's read this already, he claimed and spoke to the club that he wants Chelsea. Chelsea went back into it. The Liverpool owners actually made it to London and, as reported, expressed major rage, frustration, anger. I think everything that crosses that spectrum of emotions towards the botch or the complete collapse of that deal. Rightly so. If they did manage to secure the deal, if Liverpool had managed to swoop in and secure that deal, hats off to them. I may not have been happy about it as a Chelsea fan, but if you can do that kind of business, create that kind of impact, get those kinds of results in such a small window of time, negotiate and seal a deal like that, especially with the player as well, then you have my respect. But that is not, in essence, what happened. And now Chelsea are apparently going in for Romeo Lavia as well. A thought that I had carried was that if it were possible that Chelsea could play Caicedo tomorrow and he would have scored, then it would be bedlam at Stamford Bridge. I know that that may never happen. It may not happen. I wouldn't necessarily use the word never. It doesn't really fit into that sentence, but it won't happen. You know? The deal is supposedly going to be finalized today for him to arrive and train and do all that. I'm not necessarily sure he's going to be featured as a substitute either. He may not even be in the squad. He may. It's not necessarily what the information that the club has given us so far, because we still don't know what Poch's starting 11 is going to be ahead of the game. This is just my personal opinion. So there's no news on that just yet. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm happy about today, and I can't wait to see how the season goes. Thank you all once again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment in the comments section. Let me know what you think about anything I've said, about the games, about week 1 overall, because we're buzzing, we're happy, we're excited, we're optimistic. The Premier League is back. We have something to talk about again. Hit that bell notifications button because we post content on a daily basis. Again, thank you once again for tuning in, and I will see you all next time the whistle blows.